Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Friday, December the 6th. We got a 10-game Friday night slate. We're going to run through this slate position by position. I'll just hit on the players that stand out to me the most, give some of my early thoughts on this 10-game slate. Recording this video on Thursday night, so these are not my final thoughts, or this is not my final look. If you want to check out all my updated content, all my updated in-depth content, I do articles every day for the NBA slates. I give updated plays that I like all the way up until lock. We have a Discord chat that you can join where we just talk about the slate throughout the day. Me and all my other Patreon subscribers. You can check out my Patreon. Link is down below. See all the exclusive content I have to offer. I will be putting up NFL content on Friday. I'll have some up on Saturday as well for the NFL slate. Week 14 of the NFL slate. So if you want to check out all that content I have, you can check out my Patreon. Link is down in the description. See all the exclusive content I am offering over there. Also, I would appreciate if you would drop a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new. Click that notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload. Feel free to comment down below who are some of your favorite plays for this Friday night slate, if there's some early standouts that you see. But anyways, let's go ahead and start off at point guard. Starting off at the top, you got LeBron at a 10,100 against the Trailblazers. Like I always do, I want to start off with the studs and talk about them first. So we got Giannis as the most expensive stud on the slate, 11,300 against the Clippers. Then we got Karl-Anthony Towns, who is listed on, at least on DraftKings, listed as questionable, but he's actually probable. So Towns is expected to play today, 10,400 against OKC. Then you have LeBron, obviously. You got AD for 9,600 against Portland. Andre Drummond for 9,400 against the Pacers. And then you have like Brad Beal, Damian Lillard, Kawhi Leonard, just some of the other studs on the slate. So right now, just looking at this slate the night before, I mean, I don't think LeBron's going to be a priority for me. It kind of all depends on what happens like in Minnesota because there is some injuries there, not Karl-Anthony Towns, but Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins is questionable as of Thursday night when I'm recording this video. If Wiggins were to sit, then Karl-Anthony Towns would become my favorite play at 10,400. And honestly, even though it's a tough matchup for Giannis, I really like Giannis here against the Clippers. We're finally going to get Giannis in a competitive game. At least I hope so. Only reason he hasn't been able to perform well lately is just because he's been in a blowout pretty much every game. I mean, 20 minutes against Charlotte because they blew out Charlotte. 22 minutes against the Knicks because they blew out the Knicks. 28 minutes against Detroit because they blew them out. This should finally be a game we get 34 to 36 minutes from Giannis. And even in a tough matchup, I'll take 34 to 36 minutes of Giannis in a tough matchup over 20 to 22 minutes of him in a good matchup. So we'll talk more about that when we get to small forward and power forward. But at the top of the point guard position, I don't think LeBron's going to be a guy I pay up for. Damian Lillard is a little bit too cheap on DraftKings, but this is definitely not the best spot. I mean, this Lakers defense is really good. They've got one of the best defensive ratings in the league. I mean, they're top 5 in the league in terms of defensive rating. Very solid defensive team. The Lakers are playing pretty slow this season. So I don't really want to go to Lillard. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be paying up at point guard much today. I really like Devontae Graham over on Yahoo. They don't price him up enough over there. I mean, he's still too cheap on Yahoo. He's at shooting guard and he's only $30. Like, give me Devontae Graham today at shooting guard if I can pay up for him. He definitely is one of the early standouts over on Yahoo. I was going to include him in my early core, but there were some other routes I like to take or some other ways I wanted to go. But Devontae Graham I like. I mean, I don't think I'll be able to get to him on DraftKings at 8,300 today, just given some of the other players I like at the other positions. But Devontae Graham against Brooklyn, I mean, he should definitely smash here. He's been playing so well. Really good spot. This Brooklyn team is playing fast this season. They haven't been that great defensively. Devontae Graham has shown the upside, especially when he gets a good matchup, that he can come through. He's tough to get to on DK, but I'll definitely be looking to him over on Yahoo where he's still too cheap. Zach LaVine's in a really good matchup against the Warriors. He stands out at 7,800. He's definitely a guy you could look to in that like mid-tier range. Terry Rozier's coming off some big games. Now that he's up to 7,100, I like the matchup against Brooklyn, but I don't think I can pay 7,100 for Terry Rozier on a 10-game slate. There's just other routes I would like to take. I think point guard's a position we can find some value. There was definitely some value that I saw just looking at this slate the night before. So Tomas Satoransky I want to talk about. He's up to 6K on DraftKings, which is a pretty tough price to pay for him. I mean, he's been like good. He should be 6K. He's worth the price tag. He's put up over 30 DraftKings points in 3 of his last 4 games. Had a 41-point game against the Warriors, 30 minutes and 30 DK points against Portland. His last game against Memphis, I liked him a lot on that slate. He played 33 minutes, had 37 DraftKings points. Satoransky's been playing really well. Now he gets a Warriors team that is dead last in defensive rating, I believe. Or I believe the Wizards are dead last. They're second to last. Or they're actually third to last now. The Hawks are worse defensive, or the Hawks have a worse defensive rating than the Warriors do. But this is a really good spot for Satoransky. Since he's up to 6K on DraftKings, he's tough to get into your lineups, like especially if you're building like one lineup. But on Yahoo, I mean, he's only $16 on Yahoo. That's just really, really cheap for Satoransky with how well he's been playing. His minutes are going up. They're starting to trend up. He's played at least 33 minutes in 3 of his last 4 games. If we're going to get 33 minutes of Satoransky against this Warriors team that can't stop anybody, I really like him on today's slate. I like him a lot at $16 on Yahoo, and I think that's where I'm going to have the most exposure to him. He's a fine play on DraftKings, but there are other ways I would look to go today. One big injury we're going to need to watch at the point guard position is the status of Justice Winslow. So we do already know as of Thursday night that Goran Dragic is going to be out today for the Heat, but Justice Winslow also popped up on the injury report, and he is questionable with a strained lower back. If I had to guess, I would imagine that he sits this game just due to how injury prone he's been this season with how many games he's missed. I mean, it seems like every time Winslow is questionable, he winds up sitting. So I think it's pretty likely he sits here, especially against a Wizards team that they should easily be able to beat. I mean, there's not a total on this game, but I imagine the Heat are going to be pretty big favorites here. So I'm going into this slate assuming that Winslow is going to be out. Obviously, that could change. Check out all my updated content over on Patreon if you would like to. Get in the Discord. You can ask me questions and stuff about the slate. You can ask me just like lineup stuff. I have a feeling, though, that Winslow probably going to be out today, which is definitely going to open up some cheaper plays at the point guard position that we will talk about in a second. Before we get there, though, Jeff Teague, I'm going to have a lot of interest in today if Andrew Wiggins is out. If Wiggins is out, I think it's very likely Teague moves back into the starting lineup. And at 5,200, he would firmly be in play today. But Chris Dunn's someone I want to talk about. So Chris Dunn is really cheap on both sites. He's 4,900 on DraftKings. And over on Yahoo, he's at $12 at the point guard position. Or not none, I meant to type Dunn. $12 at the point guard position. I think you can definitely play both these guys together. People might think it's like negative correlation, but with them starting alongside each other, it's likely that both Satoransky and Dunn will close out the game alongside each other. So I'm fine playing both of them together on Yahoo, especially where they're both really, really cheap. On DraftKings, though, Dunn's definitely too cheap as well. 4,900, he's going to play probably 30 minutes in most games. The only reason he played 24 minutes against Memphis is because he fouled out in that game. He was dealing with foul trouble. He would have had a much better game if the fouls weren't there. In this matchup with the Warriors, a Warriors team that, like I've said multiple times, can't stop anybody right now. If we're going to get 30 minutes of Chris Dunn with Otto Porter out, with Chandler Hudson out, I mean, he's going to be the starting shooting guard. He should be pretty locked in to low 30s in minutes, if not higher. And he can definitely be productive in this matchup. He's a good defender. He can rack up steals. We know how sloppy this Warriors team is. They'll turn the ball over a lot. Really like Chris Dunn today. He definitely stands out as one of the early values at point guard or shooting guard. I do like him quite a bit at 4,900. And then Kendrick Nunn, I also have a lot of interest in. Both Nunn and Dunn, I'm going to have some interest in today. So like I said, I'm assuming that Justice Winslow is going to be out today, which is definitely going to open up some opportunity for Kendrick Nunn. His minutes have kind of been down a little bit. Like, he's only played about mid-20s in minutes 3 of the last 4 games, and I think a lot of that has to do with the return of Justice Winslow. I mean, Justice Winslow, I know, played big minutes against Toronto. He played pretty big minutes against Boston as well. With Kendrick Nunn starting now at point guard, or with him starting, I do feel safe with his minutes, especially with no Dragic and potentially no Winslow coming off the bench as well. Nunn should be locked into big minutes here if Winslow is out. It's a fantastic matchup against the Wizards. The Wizards are first in pace this season. This is going to be a great pace game. I mean, the Heat have started to slow down a little bit. They were towards the top of the league in pace this season. Can't find it, or they're 16th in pace now. We saw like at the beginning of the season, the Heat were like a top 5 team in pace. They've started to slow down, so this is definitely a pace-up spot for them against the Wizards. The Wizards are dead last in defensive rating. They're one of the worst defensive teams. Love Kendrick Nunn today. Assuming Justice Winslow is out, he's going to become one of my favorite plays on DraftKings at only 4,800, and he will definitely stand out as one of the better values. Playing alongside Jimmy Butler is not helpful for Kendrick Nunn, but the minutes should be there with how thin the Heat could potentially be at point guard today. So he's the guy as a value that I wanted to talk about at point guard. And then I don't think Tyler Hero's point guard eligible. We'll talk more about him when we get to shooting guard. He's definitely going to be a value that we'll talk about if Winslow is out, because he should see more minutes as well. But I think we covered there's one more point guard I want to talk about. So we don't know the status yet of Isiah Thomas. Isiah Thomas was sort of a late scratch on Thursday night. He got ruled out I think at 6:15, about 30 to 45 minutes before the game started. I was in Discord and stuff trying to message everybody, tell them to get on Ish Smith, because Ish Smith became a core play for me once we got the news that Isiah Thomas was out. As I'm recording this video on Thursday night, I mean, I think he's got like 30 DraftKings points. He was one of the easiest values on the slate. He was going to have to play big minutes because they really had no other point guard. Assuming Isiah Thomas is out again, I mean, he's going to be really hard to avoid where his price was not adjusted at all. He's only 3,600 on DraftKings. It's a brutal matchup against the Heat. The Heat are a really good defensive team, but 3,600 for Ish Smith is too cheap if he's going to play 30 to 32 minutes, which I believe is what he played on Thursday night with Thomas out. Yahoo might have updated the game log. I can check it real quick. Yeah, so he played 34 minutes Thursday night, against Philly. It was it was a close game, which I honestly didn't expect. I thought there was a chance for a blowout there, but I rolled with all my Philly guys. The Sixers. The Sixers were like one of the teams that everybody was keying in on Thursday night. They were such a good spot. Tobias Harris, Al Horford, all those guys were great plays. Simmons, Embiid. We actually got a close game, which definitely helped. I mean, I had a lot of exposure to that game. And you got 32 fantasy points from Ish Smith in 34 minutes. He had 19 points, 1 rebound, 8 assists. I mean, assuming Isiah Thomas is out today, it's going to be really hard to get away from Ish Smith, where he's still minimum salary on Yahoo, and he's close to the minimum on DraftKings at 3,600. Since it's a back-to-back, I'm assuming that Isiah Thomas does not play, which makes Ish Smith a standout value on both sides, at least as of now. But let's go ahead and talk about some shooting guard plays now. I really don't have much to love at the top of the position, like Beal, Leonard, Dinwiddie. We're going to talk about Jimmy Butler, who I do really like today. But Beal, Leonard, and Dinwiddie, I'm not the biggest fans of today. I love Jimmy Butler, though, in this spot against the Wizards. We talked about it. I mean, I have a feeling the Heat are going to be like one of the teams I have the most exposure to today, especially if Winslow is out. That's going to open up a lot of value from the Heat. Jimmy Butler has just been playing out of his mind these last few games. He's really benefited with Goran Dragic off the floor. We're seeing him pick up his assists. He had 12 assists in that game against the Raptors that went to overtime. He had a triple-double in that game. And then in a tough matchup against Boston in a blowout loss, I mean, he still played 37 minutes, had 55 DraftKings points, 37, 6, and 4. Jimmy Butler's just playing out of his mind right now. He's played the best that he's played all season. We're really starting to see Jimmy Butler turn things on, kind of be the player that everyone thought he could be. 8,100 is expensive on DraftKings, but the matchup is so good. Without Goran Dragic, I expect the usage to be there. I want to run the numbers real quick just to see his numbers with the Heat, with all those guys off the floor this season. We know Goran Dragic is going to be out. There's a chance that Justice Winslow is out as well, so I will take him off the floor and we can run the numbers just to see Jimmy Butler's, like, his assist percentage, his usage rate, all that stuff. So 278 minutes with both Dragic and Winslow off the floor this season. 21% usage rate, which is kind of low. Only 1.16 fantasy points per minute. But if you look at the assist rate, 33.8% assist percentage, which is absolutely insane. I expect him to handle the ball a ton if both those guys, or at least if Winslow is going to be out. Love Jimmy Butler on DraftKings and on Yahoo at small forward. He's definitely one of the best spend-up options. Like, you have Kawhi for $7 more. Just give me Jimmy Butler over Kawhi for a lot cheaper. DeMar DeRozan's $4 less. Even if LaMarcus Aldridge is out today, I think I'd still rather play Jimmy Butler over DeMar DeRozan. So love Jimmy Butler. He's one of the standout plays to me at the shooting guard and small forward position, at least just looking at this slate the night before. But obviously the Wiggins injury here is going to be big, as that could open up maybe Jeff Teague. Might even open up some value from the Timberwolves that I'll talk about in my article over on Patreon if you guys want to check all that out. I'll have all that content updated and uploaded as the day goes on Thursday or Friday, usually around 2 or 3 o'clock Eastern time. I'll put up my article. I'll have some private videos up on Patreon as well. Updated core plays. You guys can check all that out. Link is down in the description. But you do have DeRozan for $7,400 against the Kings, who I would have some interest in. If LaMarcus Aldridge is out today, he does see a boost with LaMarcus Aldridge off the floor. So that'll be an injury we need to watch heading into Friday night. But there's really not much in this mid-range I like at shooting guard besides kind of the guys I've already talked about. I know Garrett Temple's been really cheap on Yahoo. I want to see what his price is today. He's up to $17, so I don't think he's going to be a lock and load for me. He was like 50% owned in some of the Yahoo tournaments I played in on the last slate when they played the Hawks. I believe that was Wednesday night. I only had like 20% of him, so I was really underweight on Garrett Temple, and it came back to bite me. I mean, he had 34 fantasy points, which kind of sucks. I mean, if you would have told me going into Wednesday night slates that Garrett Temple would have been 50% owned, like I would have easily faded him. But with his price going up, I don't really want to have, or I don't really have much interest in him on either site. There's not much in this 5K range that stands out. Maybe a guy like Jarrett Culver could be interesting today if Wiggins is out, but that'll be news we just kind of have to wait and see on. Corey Joseph is listed as questionable. I believe he's actually probable. Oh no, Joseph's actually questionable today. We do know that Bogdanovic is questionable as well, so that could definitely open up Yogi Ferrell. I don't know if he got priced up at all. $3,600 for Yogi Ferrell. He would become a really good value today if both Bogdanovic and Joseph are out, and he'd honestly become one of the best value plays on the slate. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that status of Corey Joseph because that's pretty big. That will definitely open up some value with Yogi Ferrell. But I think we covered all the shooting guards. Last guy I wanted to talk about real quick was Tyler Hero. So 4,100 if Justice Winslow is out. Tyler Hero is not going to start, but he should see plenty of run off the bench. He should play pretty big minutes off the bench just with how thin their backcourt will be. So I have a lot of interest in Tyler Hero if Winslow is out. I'm pretty sure he's minimum salary on Yahoo. Let me look up real quick. I typed in Winslow by accident. Yeah, Tyler Hero is minimum salary at shooting guard on Yahoo, so he would become a top value play for me over there if Winslow does not play today. Let's go ahead and talk about some small forwards now, run through this position. So I really like Giannis on today's slate. It's not a good matchup against the Clippers. We know the Clippers have two really good defenders in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, but we should finally get Giannis playing 34 to 36 minutes. That's what he's played in competitive games this season. The only reason he hasn't been great lately is because of blowout. He's just not getting his full minutes. Even though it's a tough matchup, I'll just play Giannis when he's getting his full minutes. He went off against the Clippers earlier this season, but I don't really take that into account. I mean, I'm pretty sure Kawhi was out that game and Paul George was not healthy yet. So earlier this season when he faced the Clippers, he got to face them without Kawhi Leonard and without Paul George. Things are going to be different here. It's a tougher matchup, but Giannis is the most matchup-proof guy in the league. I mean, nobody's going to be able to stop him. 36 minutes of Giannis, even in a tough matchup. He's definitely a guy I want to try and pay up for today. I like him a lot on both sides. He's pretty easy to get to, especially if we do get some of the value from like Ish Smith and Dunn and some of these Heat guys become values. If we get Yogi Ferrell as a value, then it honestly will be pretty easy to spend up today for one of the studs you like. And I'll definitely be spending up for Giannis, where he should probably be playing 34 to 36 minutes today, even in a tough matchup. He's definitely one of the top studs on the slate. And I'm pretty sure this game has a really close spread. Let me check it real quick. Yeah, 3.5 point spread. We're finally going to get Giannis playing his full minutes. I'm all in for that, even in a tough matchup. He's pretty much matchup proof. So he's a small forward that I like to spend up for the most. I think if I wasn't going to him, then obviously you could play Jimmy Butler here. Paul George stands out on DraftKings just given his price tag. $7,800 for Paul George I think is cheap. The Bucks are a fast-paced team. He'll probably be needed to guard Giannis whenever Kawhi's not on the floor. I'm sure one of Kawhi or Paul George is going to be on the floor at all times, especially if Giannis is on the floor. You're going to have one of those guys on the floor at all times. So there's definitely some interest for me in Paul George, but I don't think he's going to be a core play for me today. Talked about DeRozan. I'd have some interest in him if LaMarcus Aldridge winds up sitting today. Jonathan Isaac feels too cheap on DraftKings for a matchup with the Cavs. $6,400, slow-paced game, but Isaac definitely has upside to return plenty of value on that salary. He's definitely taken a hit since Aaron Gordon's return. His numbers have not been that great. He's had two pretty rough games, last two games against the Suns and the Wizards, but I think there's still plenty of upside for Jonathan Isaac. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He went to my favorite school, Florida State, so I really do like Isaac in that mid-range if you want to go there, especially for tournaments. I don't think he's like a core play by any means because he's probably going to be low-owned today. But in tournaments, if I was MMEing, I would want to be overweight on him, just given the upside that he has. But there's not much to like in this mid-range. I mean, there's not much that I see that stands out as core plays. Maybe Rudy Gay could be a core play today, especially if LaMarcus Aldridge is out. He would see a boost. He didn't play in the overtime their last game, which was pretty frustrating. I had a lot of Rudy Gay exposure on that slate, and he didn't play in the overtime. I think he only played 24 minutes, even though he was fully healthy. Yeah, he only played 23 minutes, which was really surprising. That was definitely frustrating, but I'd be fine going back to Rudy Gay today if Aldridge is out. For value at small forward, there really isn't much to like here. There's not much I see. Troy Brown I was on Thursday night slate. I liked him as a value with both Jordan McRae out and Isiah Thomas out. I thought that would free up a lot of minutes in the front court or in the back court, and it kind of did. I think Troy Brown played like mid-20s in minutes, which is what I expected him to play. He played 21 minutes in that last game against Orlando. I can actually look up on Yahoo how many minutes he played because they do update their game logs pretty quickly. So Troy Brown played 18 minutes. Wow, that was pretty surprising. I thought he played more minutes than that. He was very productive, though, with 24 fantasy points. I had a lot of exposure to him, so I guess that's kind of frustrating to see that. I haven't checked my lineups since I started recording, but that's kind of frustrating. He only played 18 minutes. I had him projected for like 26. I thought he was going to play pretty solid minutes with McRae out. I thought that would open up more minutes for him, and it really didn't, which kind of sucks, honestly. I know Bertans got hot from the field, and Bertans played a lot of minutes in that Thursday night game. Troy Brown would be a fine value. Like, if you're MMing, I would definitely have him in my player pool. I don't think he'd be a core play, though. Josh Okogie, someone I'm going to be keeping my eye on. If Andrew Wiggins is out today, that would definitely open up opportunity usage for Josh Okogie, minutes as well. He probably would play 30-plus minutes, so he would be in play as a value. But let's go ahead and talk about some power forwards now. We'll run through this position. So obviously you can play Giannis here. You got Anthony Davis at 9,600, who feels too cheap on DraftKings, especially for a matchup against the Trailblazers. I don't really know who they're going to put up against him. Like, I imagine Whiteside's going to guard JaVale McGee whenever JaVale McGee's on the floor. It'll be probably like Anthony Tolliver, or honestly, it might be Carmelo. If Carmelo is guarding Anthony Davis, I mean, my God, Anthony Davis might go for 65 to 70. So I definitely have interest in Anthony Davis today. If I can get him with Giannis and with Jimmy Butler, that is for sure a strategy I'm going to try and take. Just kind of depends on how much value we get. I usually play like 20 lineups a night, so obviously I'll have exposure to Anthony Davis. I mean, especially if he's going to be guarded by Carmelo, he might go absolutely nuclear. So just other power forwards. Sabonis feels a little bit too cheap. Him and Paul George, both at 7,800, I think are a little bit underpriced. I would have those guys in my player pool for sure. Really not much in this mid-range that stands out. Just looking at this slate the night before, besides like Jonathan Isaac that you can play at power forward. I mean, Carmelo's been playing really well, but tough to have a lot of faith in him against the Lakers. Really good Lakers defense. I guess there's a little bit of a narrative there with him facing his buddy LeBron, but I probably wouldn't go there. The Wizards are definitely an interesting team we're going to need to watch. We did get the news that Mo Wagner was going to play Thursday night, and he did wind up playing. I think he had a decent game. I don't think he was great, but he did start at center, which put Bertans back to the bench. Bertans actually had a really big game off the bench, though, and Rui moved back to power forward. This situation in general is probably going to be a situation for me to avoid, especially in a matchup against the Heat. I've been playing a lot of Wizards lately, but I don't think that's going to be the case today. Robert Covington, I'll for sure have my eye on today if Wiggins is out. That's definitely some news to watch. Rudy Gay if LaMarcus Aldridge is out, like I said. Wagner's price went down even though he's starting now. I mean, he started at center Thursday night. I think it was 5,500 Thursday night, down to 5K. Tough matchup against the Heat. I'll probably be looking elsewhere on a 10-game slate. Don't think I really need to go there. Bates Depot, if Wiggins is out, will be someone I have my eye on. But I think we pretty much covered all the power forwards that I see. So let's go ahead and run through the center position real quick before we end the video. So obviously, Karl-Anthony Towns is a top play today if Wiggins is out. He definitely is going to benefit. I can pull up his numbers real quick this season with Andrew Wiggins off the floor. I know he does see a pretty sizable boost. So let me go to the Timberwolves. Let's take Andrew Wiggins off the floor just in case he's out. I guess we could take Jake Layman off the floor as well since we know he's going to be out for this game. And then we can run the numbers. So Karl-Anthony Towns in 126 minutes this season with Andrew Wiggins and Layman off the floor. 29.5% usage rate, 1.46 fantasy points per minute average, 20.7% assist percentage, 17.3% total rebound percentage. Just looking at the differential, that's a small bump in his assist percentage. He actually is less productive fantasy points per minute wise. But still, I would expect, like, over time, I mean, even going back to last season, when Wiggins is off the floor, Towns does see a bump. So, Towns is in play at 10-4. Honestly, it kind of depends. Like, if Wiggins is out, I'll probably roll with Towns but between him and AD. If Wiggins plays, though, like, I really like AD, especially if he's going to be guarded by Carmelo. 9,600 for AD with Carmelo defense. I mean, he should go nuclear. So, easy upside there for him to return 6 to 7x value on that salary. I don't really have any interest in any other expensive centers, though. Jokic is really cheap at 8K, but I don't think I'm going to be going there on today's slate. I mean, he torched Boston the last time they played. Boston's definitely not the same defensive team versus bigs that they used to be. Jokic played 35 minutes against them, had 64 DraftKings points. He had a triple-double. I mean, he's a fine play at 8K. Like, that's really cheap for Jokic, but on a 10-game slate, I don't consider him a top play or a core play by any means. There will probably be other guys that I'll be looking to. Bam's in a great matchup. Jared Allen and Bam are both in great matchups, like two of the best matchups you can have as a big. But 7,500, 7,200, both of those price tags are pretty tough to stomach on this slate. Like, honestly, I might try and get up to Jokic if I'm going to pay, like, in that 7K range. I'll just try and get up to Jokic, but really good spot for both Bam and Allen. I think they're both reasonably priced on Yahoo, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you got Bam at 29, who I love. I mean, that's a really cheap price. Jared Allen's 29 as well. So Allen, Adebayo, if I'm going to get exposure to those guys, which I want to on tonight's slate, I'm definitely going to be doing it over on Yahoo, where they both feel a little bit too cheap. But that's really all I see, like, in the mid-range, getting down here towards the value tier. Jakob Poeltl had a really big game last game with LaMarcus Aldridge out. He started at center, played 41 minutes and 2 overtimes. I'm not sure how many minutes he would have finished with, like, at regulation. I know he did play pretty big minutes, though. He had 43 DraftKings points. He contributed in all categories, had 6 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 blocks, and a steal. I wouldn't say tough matchup against the Kings, but now that he's priced up to 5,800, I mean, Jakob Poeltl's not going to be as big of a priority for me as he was on the last slate. I thought he was one of the better values. Once we got the news Aldridge was out, I don't think that's going to be the case today, since DraftKings did raise his price up quite a bit. On Yahoo, I think he's still really cheap, or $17. They actually raised his price up as well. So even if LaMarcus Aldridge is out, I wouldn't consider Poeltl a top play today, just given his price bump on both sites. There's really not much I like at center in the mid-range. Like, great matchup for DeAndre Jordan, but if I'm going to play one of the Brooklyn bigs, I mean, it's going to be Jared Allen, who just has the most upside and will get more minutes. I don't think there's really any value at center either. Like, Willie Cauley-Stein's in a great matchup, but it's really hard to trust him right now. His minutes are just so up and down. Bismack Biyombo's in a really good matchup, but he's another guy that's really hard to trust right now. I mean, he played 18 minutes. Like, he went from 26 minutes one game to 18 minutes the next game. You just don't know with the Hornets bigs. On a 10-game slate, that's probably a situation that I'll be avoiding. So I think we pretty much covered everything at center, guys. I think we pretty much touched on just the entire player pool. I think that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Like I said at the beginning, if you want to check out all my other content I have available, I'll have a full written article, a full slate breakdown, where I talk about all my favorite plays at each position. I'll fully write it up. It's usually like a 7 to 8 page article. If you want to get access to that, get access to my updated core plays, if you want to get in our Discord chat and just talk DFS throughout the day, you can check out my Patreon, see all the exclusive content I have over on Patreon. Link is down in the description. You can also follow me on Twitter. There's a link down in the description as well to my Twitter account at DFS by Noah. And my Patreon is also patreon.com/DFS by Noah. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you have not yet, click that notification bell. Don't forget to comment. Let me know who are some of your favorite plays for tonight's slate. We'll see you in the next video, guys. Good luck tonight. Peace.